Access Fort Wayne offers reflections of our community. Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne are a service of the Allen County Public Library. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting organizations. For more information about creating your own television program with Access Fort Wayne, call 421-1250.
Hello, this is Patty Hunter. How are you today? This is my show, Patty's Page. Now I have two special guests with me today, so I'm going to not waste any more time, and I'm going to introduce them. So this is John Dickmeyer. Hello.
Hello, Patty.
Can we shake hands? There.
Of course.
And this is Terry Doran, of course.
Hello, Patty.
Hello, dear. So welcome to my show.
Well, thank you.
Oh, stereo.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are going to talk about track. And what is that short form for?
Three Rivers Art Center for Kids.
Yes.
Track.
We've been going at this for over a year now, approximate. And we are trying to raise awareness to child abuse here, as well as children being neglected. But this is for all the children that track was made for. So, who likes to open up? What's happening since we last been on the show? Anything new?
Well, there's a lot happening nationally that impacts all of what we're trying to do, because any violence adds to the problem of child abuse.
Yeah.
Anytime you have violence in the community, gun violence, terrorism, that adds to it and multiplies the effect. Any stress that you have in the community, in the families of folks, adds to child abuse, adds to, in general, abuse. So we have problems in our communities of gun violence and bullying and who knows what else. It's all a part of the same problem. And a way out is to appeal to the human spirit, to appeal to the best parts of our humanity, to work around that.
Yeah. Oh my, yes. Because it's just rampant nowadays, the abuse against children. They have no say in what happens to them, especially when they're like prisoners in their own home.
Yep.
And so, Terry, what's happening now? What's up?
I guess the main thing is we're trying to get your friend Lauren Chapin, who is the star of Father Knows Best, to come to Fort Wayne. And I said your friend because she called in on your show a year or so ago, the Sperry Show, Patty's Page, and in the process you got to talking to her, and she said, "Oh, I'm very interested in track." And Lauren was abused herself as a child.
Yeah.
When she was the star of a child star of Father Knows Best, a TV classic in the 50s, and she has become a nationally known speaker on the subject of child abuse. So we feel she's ideal because of your relationship, because of her fame, because of her passion for the subject, and I think she would raise awareness, help us get some money, raise some money, and I think it'd be a wonderful program. You know, the public, of course, would be invited. There would be a mural painted on the subject of child abuse. At the same time, probably everything happening here in the library, and John used to work here, so he arranged with his contacts to get the mural painted here in the library. And the mural would start out with some of the bleakness that John opened the show with.
Right.
Bleakness that's true. I mean, we dodge this stuff way too much in America. I mean, pretend like it's not happening, or this is so great, you know. I mean, there's a lot of problems, and we would start with some of the truth of the subject, but at the end we would show a transformation, and that's what track is for. The transformation, to take something that's bad and try to make it better.
Yes. I was going to say, isn't the United States low on the totem pole when it dealing with abuse?
United States, a recent study came out of 29 countries, is next to last in child well-being, very near the bottom in child poverty.
Right.
Bottom meaning has a lot of child poverty.
Right.
We have the highest divorce rate, which speaks to John's opening comments about stress in the family. You know, a divorce, obviously, I'm just going through one, is tremendous stress on everybody. The parents involved, the child, and having the highest divorce rate is certainly nothing to brag about. We have the highest obesity rate, the highest incident of drug use, both illicit and prescription. You know, prescription drugs, a leading cause of death for a number of reasons.
Right.
One, abuse of it.
Right.
But secondly, the drug itself, maybe not knowing what interaction it's going to have with another drug. So, as John said, there's a lot of problems, and I think the key of track that you both captured is it's for everybody, and it's for the community to get involved.
Right.
It's for the best of our humanity, for everybody.
It's not a secret. It is there.
And you don't have to be an expert on child abuse. We have too many experts. You have to have it in your heart to want to help somebody, you know. And maybe you've been through, like we had another guest that both of you were the result. Both of you found her, Malaya Heck,
Malaya Heck.
And she had been abused as a child. I think she's an example of what we're trying to do. She turned her life around by forgiving the abusers, her father and other family members.
That's a tough thing to do.
It's a very tough thing to do. But in the process of doing that and trying to do it, she found a way to share and make herself feel better and help others, and that's going to schools and public events, and that's where you met her, and share her story. And in doing so, she told us, she was on one of our shows, that she was just amazed at how many kids came up and said, oh my, I've had a similar thing, who can we talk to? And we had a show with 5 therapists who would all volunteer their time. So track really is reaching out to everybody. And there's just a recent study that your husband Bob sent saying that child abuse is difficult to detect in the sense of reporting it and for agencies that work with child abuse. So our aim would be to get kids to come to us.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference.
But if the kids come to you, the parents have to come to you.
And the
too.
parents, yeah, that's where it gets to everybody.
Yeah.
Right, you can't, you've got to work with parents if they're the abusers. And often they are, unfortunately.
Or siblings who do the abusing.
Or siblings. It's usually a family member.
Yeah.
Or a friend.
You know what you have to do. A lot of the things, Terry, that you mentioned are medication,
Right.
self-medication
Oh, yeah.
for people that have emotional problems. Alcohol, drugs.
Yeah, good point.
And then even the actual abuse, if you talk to the therapist, a lot of times what happens is one of the adults in that relationship has a bad day, is put upon by someone in his or her life, and then when that individual comes home, what you have is a cascading of violence or violent behavior downward. And that's really rough to take. I mean, the boss goes after the adult at work. You have that adult come home, and then the kids, and sometimes what will happen is they'll pick on the first kid that's available, and then the child learns to abuse all the way down. So you may have a chain of abuse in a family, and you don't really realize that that's happening. So the appropriate way, or an appropriate way, is to find a substitute for that. And that's what we're looking for, is to find a suitable substitute through the arts to release the tension, and also to give a way for folks like you and I who are not therapists but have skills in carpentry or dance or music or some other area that we call the arts, to have a contribution towards making things better. That's where, that's the focus. And so the idea behind track is to get a place to do these things.
Yes.
And in a way, that's almost like building a field of dreams, the baseball movie, because if the venue exists, then I think recruiting people to come to provide the opportunities is not that difficult.
That's a good analogy. If they build it, they will come,
Yes.
kind of thing. Yeah. So that's another goal, that Lauren Chapin coming to town, that we hope will come to town. We need to raise some money. We applied for a matching grant to Arts United. We're waiting to hear, and that the awareness generated by her will help us to get a building, a facility. The mayor is interested. He said he would help. He said he was very interested in the subject. It's really a national problem and a disgrace. I mean, getting back to America's ranking, the highest gun violence by far, since Newtown, over 3,000 people murdered in America by guns. After all the talk and discussion and light shed on gun violence, it continues virtually unabated. We have the highest child abuse rate of any industrialized country. We're the only country that doesn't provide national health care for its citizens. So track can't solve everything, but John's point is excellent. There's a stressor involved in all of this. We're a very competitive society, and using the art, communication. Art is communication. I think talking is an art form.
Yeah.
And as John
That's where the
said,
therapists come in.
Exactly. But what we want to emphasize is you don't have to think you're an expert in something, in order to contribute. As John said, everybody has skills. Like carpentry, you mentioned. You might think, well, how can I help with that? Well, if you teach somebody to build a birdhouse, anything that, like John said, that makes you feel better, that is relieving this stress, that is the antidote to the way he put it. So,
and it's not just one of these things. You need a lot of different approaches, because there isn't just one child out there. There isn't an ideal child. Everyone is different.
Yes, and they have different abuses.
And you, Terry, you were talking about talk. One thing that we didn't really look at is the art of speaking. I mean, we could have someone in who would teach kids how to read poetry.
Or communicate.
Poetry, and any kind of communication. One of, I think, the best programs in our high school setting is the speech program, the speech competitions.
True.
It gives the kids wonderful opportunities. But to start kids earlier in that, to start them way before high school, would be wonderful. And we've got a whole lot of people out there who have that kind of skill in public speaking that could be wonderful and could work with our children.
Are you also talking about networking too?
Oh, I think so.
What's that?
Business networking groups are wonderful opportunities, and in one of the groups, Norris Networking, we have a young man who comes. His father is a pastor up in a villa.
Mm-hmm.
He comes to the group. He's homeschooled, and he's learning how to give a 1-minute business speech, and does that. He sells his eggs and popcorn.
Oh, I know that one.
You know him.
I know him.
And that's wonderful. And kids need to have that kind of experience too with adults, because they need to know how to work with adults too.
Working with adults, the one who do the abusing, they could use help. I mean, mental help or physical help or whatever. The kids are not just the ones that need it.
No, I think that all children need mentoring.
Some adults do
and
too.
they would, of course,
Yeah,
and many of the adults who need mentoring didn't get it at one point or another, and so they need it. So the most important thing about an organization such as TRAC is it gives the opportunity for cross-mentoring. Now, how effective that is will depend on how well we're organized down the road and how good the model is down the road. But the opportunity is there to do that. And the other thing is, when it comes right down to it, abused or not, children are children.
Yeah.
And we need to do a much better job with our children as individual adults. I think our schools do a pretty good job of teaching academic things, but we need to work on the emotional side.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, we were talking about America being a competitive society. Schools is where it starts. I mean,
Right.
schools, grading, the competition. If you're not a hotshot athlete or an honor student, then what do you have in a school to feel good about? I mean, that's oversimplifying, of course, but I mean, the point is that all kids need to find something to feel good about. And if they don't find it in a positive way, you have gangs, which is the city violence, or a big cause of the city violence. You join gangs, and that's a way you find your identity and feel good.
So
and
basically, the kids who are in gangs, they were either abused or neglected themselves.
that's probably a generalization, but I bet it's probably true, yeah.
Because if they were from a broken home and they didn't find love at home, they would form their own gangs to get that love and camaraderie, family to them.
Well, and a lot of it's inner city, and young black males fill our prisons. That's another thing. America, the article I read said America is #1 at imprisoning its citizens. More citizens in prison in America than any other country on earth. Our military budget is greater than the next 12 countries combined. Yeah. I mean, this is all violence. This is not money to heal.
It's like a death culture, isn't it? It's not
it's got a lot of violence, and the result is 1 out of 6 kids go hungry. I mean, that's just a terrible disgrace, a statement like that in a country this rich. But
are we really rich?
Rich with money.
That's it.
1% that we hear hogs all the money, and that's a big reason there's this problem that we're talking about. The stress, the unfairness of it.
And not enough jobs right now.
Yeah, John's point about the boss kicks the dad or mom, and maybe not literally, but verbally.
Yeah.
He or she takes it out on the child. Well, there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs and can't even find a job.
Yeah.
The stress of that's got to be incredible, of not
bills.
Worrying about how you're going to pay your light bill and how you're going to get food on the table. And unfortunately, that tends to, instead of bonding people to find a solution, of taking it out on each other.
Yeah,
and
that's not right.
Getting back to your networking issue, another thing with Lauren, besides the mural, would be we would have booths set up so all groups, organizations that are interested in Fort Wayne, Allen County, could have a booth and be represented. Agencies that work with kids, that's another thing with TRAC, that we would want to work with all these different groups, and we would send kids to them, and they could send referrals to us, so it's definitely a community effort.
So we're almost near the end of the show, so I was just wondering, do you have anything to add? What would you like to see in the future for TRAC?
Well, first of all, I'd like to see the grant. I'd like to see the money to get moving with this. We could have used this yesterday.
Yeah.
And, when do you need this? Well,
whenever we
about
can.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. We let things go. But having said that, to move forward with it in an appropriate way, in a well-organized way, is what we need to do.
Yeah, Lauren's like stage 2 of our vision. Stage 1 was doing a number of shows like this. They've all been, in my opinion, very good. They've represented everything we're talking about. We mentioned the therapist. We mentioned the abused young woman. We had a beautiful song inspired by a poem you wrote, original song performed for the children. That led to a dance choreographed to that song.
So everything's sort
by Kate, a teacher at the
place.
Dance Collective with 5 young students.
Right.
And that was an example right there of kids getting involved to share their talent to help other kids. So they've all been, I think, excellent. The talks like this, superb. The people involved are about the best I've met that are involved with track. You know, so Lauren's the next step, and then after that we hope to get some big money in a building.
Well, you know, this is going towards the end of the show, and I enjoy our little talks with John Dickmeyer and Terry Doran. Thank you.
Well, thank you both. You both do shows, and they're both excellent, and you both promote track on your shows.
Yes, and we're going to do more. And I would like to thank the audience for tuning in and for listening to our wee chat about track.
Oh, and tell them that Three Rivers Art Center for Kids Facebook. You can find all these shows and information.
That's right. So God bless everyone, and hope to see you next week.
Excellent.
Excellent.